Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Rise with Love podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to my special guest today, all the way from Idaho, and you're going to love this conversation. I feel like everyone that is tuning in is going to benefit from all the juicy nuggets. You're going to be inspired. You're going to be lit up. So I want to introduce you to the beautiful Keira Poulsen, who is a spiritual entrepreneur coach. And I absolutely align to her mission. And I feel she is the embodiment of what it means to rise with love, because she helps bring light to the world through your spiritual business. And I'm sure Keira will say that even if you feel like you don't have a spiritual business, that you are a spiritual business as a person just doing life here on earth. So we are going to go so deep with this conversation. I'm so hyped up and pumped. I am feeling ignited. So without further ado, a huge welcome to you, Keira.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. And you live in, it's like my bucket list place is to go to New Zealand. So I feel like I'm getting a little flavor right now.
Well, when you come, you make sure you message me. I'm in Auckland, so you kind of land here. So we'll hang out. I'll take you all to all the things, and we can be besties.
I love it. Done. It is done.
It is done. We know this. It is done. It is spiritual law. So beautiful. I would love for you to kind of tell us about who you are and how this journey started of you being such a potent light worker and bringing so much more light into this world.
Thank you. First, I do want to say I'm a mother to 5. And I think that there's a lot of beauty in bringing that to the table, because I think a lot of women feel like if they have a lot of children that they don't get to follow also their passions. And so I love sharing that to hopefully bring up some truth that you can actually have a lot of children and do what's in your soul. So I'm a mother to these 5 wild, extraordinary human beings. And I am a spiritual entrepreneurship coach because I love spirituality. Like if I could meditate and chant all day, it would be like Disneyland for me. Like it's my favorite thing. And I love business and I love strategy and I love like funnels and email sequences. I like have this crazy love for business. And so I've combined them to help all of the spiritual women, those who are healers and shamans and creators and artists and authors, find success. So super fun. I love it. I own a publishing house for women. It is called Freedom House Publishing Co. It is a house of liberation. So we liberate women's voices through written word, and we liberate readers with really powerful messages of light.
I'm excited because I'm like already ticking in my head going, I have this, I've been saying for maybe the last ever, that I'm going to write a book. And at first it was like, I'm going to write about my personal life. Then I'm going to write a book called The Rise with Love book to share a lot of the messages in the Rise with Love podcast. And now that I'm doing the whole Femme Collective, I'm like, I actually want to write Femme Rebirth, the book. And I'm like, maybe you might be my publishing house.
Girl, let's talk. Because it's a very powerful house. It's these women who come with, I call them prophetess. These are prophetess women who have very profound messages that the divine is giving them. And so when we bring through messages in a community of women like this, it's just has so much power, so much grace, so much light. It's very exciting.
I love how the universe always brings the right people on your path at the exact time where sometimes you need a little push, because I've literally been saying, I'm going to write this book for such a long time. And it just feels like, oh, is it going to be this one? Is it going to be this one? And now I'm like, yeah, there's just so much that needs to come out of me that I get to share. So we will definitely keep in touch and see how we make that magic happen. So there you go, folks. This is how it works. When you are ready, when you're putting out the desire to the universe, the most beautiful miracles show up. You just have to make sure that you are completely surrendering and allowing yourself to receive. So I want to say as well, 5 kids. I mean, you've got 2 on me, babes, because I've got 3. And that used to be my story, was like, oh, especially when Sienna came into the world, it was like, that's my youngest. It was like, oh, now I have to completely start again with the business. I felt like I couldn't be successful again because I've just had this new baby and now I've got 3 kids. I'm like, I don't know if I can disperse myself that much. So I really admire the fact that you've got 5 and you're a kick-ass businesswoman. Just take us through like how we mind shift from this to go from I can either be a mom or I can either be a businesswoman.
So I work with everything spiritual, which means that like I actually work with my angels, and I really share that I don't see my angels. Like I wish I could see them. It'd be so much easier.
Oh, you're like me. I'm clairaudient, so I
Yeah.
don't predominantly see either.
Right? Like I can hear and I can see like visuals, but I can't see my angels, but I know they're there, and I ask for their help a lot. So for today, like I was just telling you before we got on, Fridays, all 5 are home. We have only 4-day school weeks over here. So Fridays are home, and I usually never book podcasts, but my manager who helps me book podcasts booked this show. And I had this very strong feeling like, no, I'm supposed to be on this show today. So I asked my angels, I need you to show me how to make this work. And literally 30 minutes ago, one of my son's kids, like their friend's mom texted, hey, can 2 of them come over? Because they're kind of like going clumps, right? Like they're all really close in age. So 2 of them just left, and one just had a friend pick him up to go skateboarding. And then my littlest one has playing with her Barbie house. And then my oldest one is going to go see a friend. Like literally just happened in 30 minutes. And all of a sudden I was like, I have 1 kid at home right now. This is how we have to ask for help from the spiritual realms, because what I do isn't physically possible. Like the businesses I run, the load that I hold, and that I do, like I don't have daycare. Like I am a mom. I stay at home with my kids. It can't physically happen unless we actually use spiritual tools of asking for divine help, asking for divine guidance. And I'm like I do not miss my sacred space. And I really believe that every morning, sitting in my sacred space, connecting within, connecting to the divine, healing work, it adds energy into my life so that I can do the things that I'm here to do.
I love that. Can you give us like an example? Because I know a lot of women are going to be like, what, how do I ask? Who do I ask? What if I don't know who my angels are? What have you? I know you and I know, because I'm in the spiritual realm for a very long time, but I would love for you to just show that, the everyday woman, how it can be done, because I get you. I know that unless you ask, you do not receive.
Yes. And that's really like, that's the message that came to me, was like, we have all of this help, especially when we want to make a difference in the world. I feel like we have this extra army that's here, but they abide by a law of like choice and agency. And so if we don't ask, it's like there's this law that holds them at bay. But if we ask, then it's like freaking miracles pour down, because they were just like waiting. So for me, I'm a big believer of calling them in through the highest order of light and truth. So it's like I'm not just inviting anybody and everybody to come and help me spiritually. I'm very clear, like because I work with God. Now a lot of people work with like the universe or the divine, however you resonate with your higher source. I ask my higher source to call in all of my angels, my guides, my leaders, my teachers, the ascended masters who've been assigned to me, healers, whatever feels good to you. And I ask that they be called in and through the highest order of light and truth and the divine light. This allows me to kind of feel like I'm asking my divine source to call them in, but I'm calling them in through light. And then I give them jobs. Like today, I need you to help me with my kids so I can be on this podcast. And then They just boom, 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 figured it all out for me, right? And yesterday I needed 4 hours. I'm in the middle of launching this mastermind. I needed so much work tech wise to do. And so I asked, like, I need you to show me how I can find 4 hours today. And one client rescheduled, one podcast canceled. And before I knew it, 4 hours had been given to me. And so that's just like, this is just the realm that we get to play in, is like, what if everything's possible if you ask?
Exactly. And the thing is, now what's really exciting, and I feel you are really talking about this, is we get to play with the quantum realm. And now we get to bend time and space. There's enough elevation of the energy of the planet that's happened, that we actually get to have these rapid manifestations that can happen instantly. Just like you say, hey team, like, how does this get to happen? It's about getting curious to the possibility, isn't it? And really knowing that it is done. And that's what I love, is that when we truly connect with the light, which I know that this is what you're talking about, is you're in alignment with love. You're in alignment with the most extraordinary energy in the universe. We are light and love and sound vibration, but that doesn't sound too exciting to say sound vibration, right? And so I love that you actually delegate. And maybe that's the thing that we can add, ladies, is that we're now not just saying, okay, make it happen, but let's delegate where this help and assistance gets to be. Because I know that you probably agree that our spiritual team are just sitting there or standing there or just twiddling their thumbs going, when are you going to give me a job? I'm here to support you. Like, hello, like I can make life better for you.
Yes, 100%. And there's so much joy as I teach women this in their business when they tell me, like, oh my gosh, I did it today. I actually asked for this to come through and I watched it open up, and I like didn't even, like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, there's like this magic that somehow got lost in our life, that it wakes this magic back up for us.
Yeah, I always say with all of my clients and my students is, of course it happened. Like, this is the realm that we get to play in, and it doesn't have to be hard. And I know that you talk about finding like the beauty and all the things beyond the trauma and the experiences that have potentially brought out suffering and the sabotage that we kind of keep being looped in. So talk us through how we use what is potentially our darkest and most challenging times to truly thrive and become successful.
Yeah, I feel so passionate about this conversation because it was in my trauma and my deepest, darkest pain that I would say it created an alchemical rebirth, like literally down to the cells. I was shifted, and it was because the pain was so intense and the darkness was so palpable that it forced me to become something else. And that's when I think we can either stay in our suffering, or we can allow it to change us. And I know this is very fairy tale like, but maybe because I have 5 kids and I read a lot of children. For me, I always see the image. I don't know if you guys have this story in over in New Zealand, but we have this children's story where there is, what is his name? Rumpelstiltskin. Do you have the story of Rumpelstiltskin?
I do know the story. It's not one that I've personally told my children or anything like that. It's probably not like a go-to story here in New Zealand, but we all know the story.
Okay.
So you
So
can use that metaphor.
okay, so I'm shown this a lot in my work of like how Rumpelstiltskin was able to take the gold, I mean the straw, and he was able to spin it into gold. And I just feel like we have this amazing opportunity when we're in suffering, pain, and darkness to either go, I'm going to sit here in this mud and I'm just kind of let it soak in, or I can actually turn it into something that is equivalent to gold. And how we do that is by seeking It's actually the action of asking the divine, the source that you connect to, on like, how do I activate my purpose, my gifts, even in this hell that I'm in? How do I wake it up? And just that simple ask, the seeking, it's like all of a sudden it starts to shift the vibrations and the order around you to create different results.
Yeah. And do you believe it's a choice? Like, do we either get to choose to stay in victimhood or we choose to rise?
I do. I feel like everything is choice, right? When I was in my darkest place and all my trauma memories had come back and the pain was so intense, like I had a choice. Do I, in my life, in this horrible realm that I thought life was, of pain everywhere, or can I choose to like actually show up and live? And that moment of choosing to show up in my gifts and my purpose, it it was a rebirth for me and a completely different life path ahead.
I love that you call it a rebirth. My program that I absolutely love is called Femme Rebirth. So, Femme meaning woman in French because I'm French, and the rebirth because I truly believe that's what we're doing. As women, we're claiming our power again. When we talk about we're entering the divine feminine and everything like that, I know about you, but I'm not about like women domination and women like in that way. It's not. It's truly about breaking the bonds of suffering and trauma that women have been looped in for generation after generation after generation, and truly shifting into what is possible for each and every single one of us, so that the next generations don't have to keep being caught up in this loop. And I feel that what you do with your publishing house and the work that you're truly bringing in with these spiritual people is you're adding the sacred medicine that only they can add into the world, which is the love and the light that we are here to bring in our uniqueness. So I'd love for you to maybe share like some of the stories or some of the major impacts that you've seen light workers go and create from being in your vortex.
I feel so deeply what you said. Like, this is the work that I do. The work that I do is liberating women from all of the traumas of all the generations. Like, this is the first time ever that women can stand and speak their truth
I
and
so agree.
share these
It's the
crazy
time.
gifts, right? Like even 30 years ago, women wouldn't be able to stand with the gifts that we have
No.
and be received. Like, they would be shunned, they would be put away. Like, it's just, we live in this brand new time. And so I just so resonate with what you say, because this is it. Like, I took these women on a retreat last weekend. So the women who join my mentorship program or my masterminds, I hold retreats throughout the year that they can choose to come to. And we were in this magical place. So Idaho is very magical. I don't think anyone really knows that. It's like the best kept secret, but Idaho is this very magical place. And there's like hot springs hidden
Oh, it
everywhere.
sounds like
And
New Zealand.
what?
We have hot springs.
I love them. I love them. And there's this one that's hidden. You wouldn't even know it's there. It's off the side of this highway, and it's down this very scary like pathway, like someone actually fell and like rolled. Like, it's not very safe. But we like go down, and we're in like these waterfalls of hot springs coming down, and no one was there but us, which is very miraculous because people are always at hot springs. So it was just me and these four women. And as we're sitting in this water, like it was like I could feel the women from my line, my generational line, and they were here. Like, we are here to help you break these binding cords that
Yeah.
have been on women. And it just feels like it's like the age of the prophetess. Like, this is the time. And I watch it happen time and time again, that when women bring through their books, because this is like part of the liberation, is putting these powerful messages into a form that lasts beyond your lifetime, which is a book. And when they do that, it's like the shackles fall off, and the power that's inside of them, their gifts, they just start to like be refined and be liberated. And it is probably the most sacred experience to watch.
Oh, I love that. And I feel it in my being, because I feel there's a lot of us now that are here on this earth that have come here to wake up these women, to really bring them into this light, into this new paradigm that it really does get to shift. And when we take the time, and I feel that's is also something you and I probably are in alignment with, is you've got to choose you. You've got to invest in the time for this rebirth to happen. It can't just necessarily be like, okay, here we go. Like, you have to do the inner work. You have to go and shift, release the shackles. And some of these shackles can be really like strongly, I'm like, what's the word I want to use? Put on you.
They're like welded. They're
That's
welded,
right,
like
welded.
time and time and time again. And it's like we're breaking apart these mental belief systems that you can't be this and this. You can't do this. You like all these things, right? Like
It
it's
has
like,
to be like a sacrifice.
right? Like
You
no.
can't be a mum of five and, a six-figure earner business or a multimillionaire. It's like, you can't do that.
Right, it's like this crazy, like no, it's all the things. It's that you get to be the mom who kisses her little ones at night and reads them stories and folds laundry, and you get to be the mom who also is a woman who has her own individual purpose, unique gifts and talents that are separate than anybody else. It's like it's both. It's not and or it's all.
Oh, you and I were definitely meant to collide.
Right?
I love it. I love
Oh,
it so much, because I feel like, we can hear this message over and over again, but it's truly really knowing within our beings that it truly is possible and available to every single woman, that it's not just a selected few. What I believe is there are a selected few women that are bringing all these women up, right? People like you and I, we've come here with this huge mission that we're here to do the work, and we've probably spent lifetimes getting to this point where we can hold the energy for our tribes, for our communities of thousands and millions that we're here to truly support. But every single woman on this earth right now is here to enter this paradigm. And it has to, I truly believe it's like, it's going to happen at some point. So may as well be now. Get in on it now, ladies, right? Because then you're just changing the trajectory of your life. And I know you know this, so ingrained within you. But it has to be that choice to rebirth.
it does. And so this is like, I was in therapy last night, as I do. I like therapist, I have a shaman. Like, I am so committed to staying in the space of expansion. So I have a really intense team to hold me there. And I was in my therapy session last night and I was just like raging, just like, I'm so pissed that people don't hold things sacred. Like it makes me so angry. And I'm like just going through all these emotions. And then obviously, like, a big piece of it was like going back and healing some more trauma and healing some more things that had led to that rage. So then this morning, I pull a card from Alana Fairchild. I'm a big fan of Alana Fairchild.
I
And
don't know
she
if I know Alana Fairchild.
she lives in Australia, and she's magic. She is pure magic. Anyway, she has this deck called what is it? I think it's like Earth Warriors or something. Anyways, I pull this card, and it is the goddess of the white buffalo, and her whole theme was the restoration of the sacred. And
Oh,
it was like, oh my gosh, to pull that after all this came out last night of like, that's what we're doing. We're actually restoring the sacred, the sacredness in women, the sacredness in our gifts, the sacredness of creation. Like
Yeah.
we're restoring it. And it just like, it was just so magical to pull that card and to feel the power in those words.
And I love that then, you were given basically the confirmation of it all. And that's how it works, right? We talk about synchronicities and, it just kind of shows up, and it's to give us yeah, babe, you got this. You're on the right track. Trust in that. I talk about probably the sacredness as the truth. I always say we bring you back to your truth. The truth is that we're all perfect and phenomenal and sensational as we are, and through Earth's programming and all the things within like the matrix, right, we lose touch of that sacredness and that truth. And when we go through these beautiful dedications of ourselves, through whether it be working with your mastermind, whether it be writing your story, you truly allow this sacredness to shine. And the more of us are shining, the more of us are lighting up the world with our beautiful, I call it sacred medicine, right? This love that is inside of us that we've all come here to share. That's how we transform this world. And I say, women, we're here to do that because we've been in that really heavy masculine energy, and now it's time for the unity to come in, the harmony, the beautiful compassion for each other. And I know you're quite big on health as well, being body, mind, and soul. So talk to us about how you also work with women. I don't know if you're just women specific, but how you work with human beings to bring this into balance as well.
So I actually do feel really called to only work with women. And I find that interesting because I have 4 sons. So most of my life is spent around men and sons and boys. But there's like this deep, deep call for the women. And so I help women actually learn how to do a daily healing practice, which is in their chakras. So that this is actually, I mean, this is how I've created the success in my business, is that every time, as there has been many times that I have failed, that I have made a mistake, or that no one wanted my work, right? Like
Yeah.
I
And
launched
let's
something.
be real,
Yeah,
that happens to everybody. That
right.
happens to everyone, myself included. I actually talked about this in my 9-year celebration of business, and I was like, let's get real.
Yeah.
People sometimes don't buy your programs or come to the events you're going to put on. So I'm glad that you talk about this. So keep going with the healing work.
It's just it's so real. I try and show my women, like, you're going to launch this course, and if it's crickets, like, it means nothing. It means nothing about you or your work. You just have to keep showing up. But the problem is that for most entrepreneurs, that is really, really, really hard to keep showing up, because it's going to trigger all your old crap. It's going to trigger all the old child conversations of I'm not good enough, or no one likes me, or nobody wants me. And so I teach my women who I work with how to do a daily healing practice so they can go in and clean that crap out by themselves every day. So it doesn't slow down their process, and it actually activates their success, because they're consistently healing through the old crap that wants to make them stop. So I'm very passionate about that.
And I really believe in my heart that we are the healers. Like, we can go to a healer and be like, this person healed me. And I truly believe that no, they did not heal you. They created the vortex for you to be able to heal yourself. So I love that you're one of these people that teaches to fish. I always use this as an analogy. Like, you can, take someone fishing, you feed them for a day, but you teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. And the fact that you are bringing in this beautiful way for women to be able to heal themselves, it's empowering. It's truly gives this liberation. And it's so funny because in Femme Rebirth, the last week is literally called the liberation, because that's what I'm like, that's what we're doing. You're free to go, honey. Go and lead and be the incredible woman that you are. But you are liberating women to the fact that they have to look outside themselves. Actually, it's already within, it's already inside of you, and you're reminding them of their true power. I kind of feel I'm in love with you.
Well, I'm in love with this space. Like, can you, like, this is why we do what we do. How fun is it that here I am over in the United States, you're over in New Zealand, and yet we're in the exact same vortex of energy of what's coming through. Like, how magical is it that we live in a time where we get to actually be sitting here? I literally just made everybody barbecue chicken sandwiches for lunch. And now I'm sitting here in this space. Like, that's the raddest life. It's so cool.
I know sometimes we have to go, coming to earth is actually pretty cool, right? It's not all doom and gloom and all the things, especially, what the outer world might be right now. But when you get in this paradigm,
Yeah.
you don't actually see that. You don't actually see the chaos and all the stuff. You actually see possibility. You see that this time that we're in is an incredible time of expansion and tapping back into the fact that we are creative potential. And when we tap into this light, which I know you talk about, and I'd love for you to explain what you feel is light, then of course that's when our inner world creates our outer world, and you just don't have it.
And that really is my experience. Like, I really believe, um I don't disregard that there's a lot of suffering in the world, and I really am aware of what's happening, but it's not my world. That's not the world that I choose to live in. And the world I choose to live in is a world of massive miracles and beauty, and it wasn't always that way. Like, I would say I know the light really well because I know the darkness really well. Like,
Yes, 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 yes.
like, that's why I'm so passionate about light, because I have spent much of my life, after, when you're a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, it creates a deep hole of suffering and pain. And growing up, I don't think I understood why I had that pain. Like, I literally was like, where is this pain? Like, why am I so angry? Why am I always so deeply hurt? And darkness was very loud for me. Like, I've dealt with suicide ideation since I was 14. Since I was 14, I've had darkness tell me to end my life.
Mm.
And I know now, like, my deepest belief is those who deal with that, it's because they are the brightest lights. They
Yeah.
are the ones who are here to shake the world. And that's why darkness wants them out. And so I'm like a voice of, like, I bring light because I have lived in the dark. And I am now aware that, like, oh, I'm here to shake and rattle the earth. Darkness has no hold on me anymore.
I love that. This, like, I'm the same background as you. The my suicide battle started when I was 9 years old. Actually, when we moved to New Zealand, I was sexually abused as well, and all of that. And it's truly such an incredible way of putting it, that we are so passionate about the light, because yes, we have lived in that darkness, and I don't want any woman, any child, to ever have to suffer in that way. Like, and I feel like, oh yeah, I was always getting hurt, getting my heart broken and all the things, until we deal with that suffering and we turn it into light. It just keeps showing up in our lives. And unless we piece that correlation and we heal it, then it's just going to keep showing up, whether it be in money, whether it be in romantic relationships or friendships or your work, or there's always a connected energy. Would you agree with that?
Yes, 100%. And that's why, I mean, I do my own daily healing work every day. And I also am in a shamanic school. So I'm expanding my gifts of healing. And I have a therapist because I believe so deeply that the pain that we've walked through is actually, it's the catalyst. So the more we're willing to look at it, the more we're willing to heal through it, it's the thing that's going to activate our gifts faster. And I've noticed that when I've taken time off from healing, I get stuck in the slump. And so it's like, oh, this isn't like a 6 month, I'm going to work on this for 6 months. This is like an everyday forever, because I'm committed to living in the light. And I know that when women wake up their gifts and actually like start to share them, that's when light just explodes. It explodes in them, and it explodes in every person who experiences their light.
Exactly. And that's how the ripple effect happens, is people will come to me and go, well, I don't have an audience, or I'm just like here. And I'm like, it's got nothing to do with that. Your light will be transmuted by just you being you, and the conversations that you're having with your family and with your friends. And then they get so lit up by you that then they light up someone else, and you won't ever know how far your light has traveled, because you will touch the lives of people who you will never even get to meet and see, but your light still makes that difference, because that is how it works. Like, I don't know, I'm like, is there a technical way of explaining that? But that's so, I'm so excited that you do this work and allow women to share their message through, you know, the written word is so powerful. How many times have you held a book in your hands and you're like, this book has changed my life, right? And you get to help women to be that.
Yes, it's the best. And my 9-year-old daughter, I have one daughter, and she's just like super magical and very, very gifted. And but like, you know, she just one day told me she had received these cards. One of my clients made these amazing affirmation cards for children. So of course I bought it for my daughter, and she's reading these affirmation cards, and she was like, I feel like I have things like this to say. I said, okay, great. Well, sit down and start seeing what happens. And she sat for 2 hours and wrote 40 affirmations, like that literally were channeled through her. And I'm publishing it. So she's going to be a published author in the next 2 months. My little 9-year-old, like, let's liberate them young. Let's bring them into this place of like, I don't need anything to say I can do this other than that I'm a yes. And that's all. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and this is incredible, because children right now are, of course, in that 5D vibration where they don't actually need to go through the suffering. They don't have to go through this real stuff that we've had to go through. And they are, like, you're seeing kids making, you know, millions of dollars sharing their light, because they don't need to go through this whole like slog of what is my career and what am I here to do. They already know. They know that this is what they're here to do, and they're doing it. And oh my gosh, I love it.
I know.
Kudos to your 9-year-old.
My hope is that it will like activate this new realm of Freedom House of children, women, like girl authors. Like, let's let her pave the way so other little girls go, wait, I have a book to write. And let's like, I just see this new trajectory of like what happens when little girls become published authors. It just feels really cool.
That is just so amazing. I imagine my 3-year-old will be someone like that as well. Honestly, she has lit up my world so much, even though I resented her for it for so long. I was like, oh, having you just meant I put everything on the back burner. And actually, I'm like, she's the reason I rebirthed into this leader that I am now, because I feel like I was so tiptoeing. I was, you know, before I was doing psychic and mediumship readings, and that was kind of all that was my world. And I was like, this isn't what I want to do. Like, I'm so much more than this. And I feel like I was fighting it for so long after Sienna was born. And now I'm like, I would never have shifted if she hadn't lit up my world in a way where I felt that deep frustration. Like, sometimes this is then what gets to expand our potential, is this frustration, right? We have to all kind of go through, you know, that little being shook up a little bit to fully emerge. So I'm with you. I'm like, my 12-year-old, I have 2 girls and 1 boy. And my 12-year-old, she's like, I want to write a book. I'm like, well, I know somewhere that can make this happen now.
Yeah, let's bring them in. I really do think that I don't think, I know that a mom who is on fire has children who are on fire, because I watched before my awakening, before I went through my trauma pain, I didn't even remember what I liked. I literally had no dreams inside of me, which is insane because the level of dreams that I have now are like they could fill a Costco. Like they could fill a huge warehouse, right? And I 5 years ago I had no dreams, literally none. And when I was in that space, my children did not use their gifts because I was shut down. And so they were shut down. And as soon as I activated my purpose, as soon as I became on fire, it was like, boom, boom, boom. My 16-year-old just created his own music studio in our home and has recorded 2 albums, launched them onto the internet with no help from us. And I stand as a mom, when you wake up to your gifts, it liberates your children to wake up.
And I actually think what's happened is that women, it's like they see it as the opposite. It's like my children will waken me, and it's actually no, through osmosis. As the mother, you are, no offense daddies, but you are the most powerful vessel for your children, and the work that you do on you, they receive that. And I love that you mentioned this because I see it all the time when I was, doing the readings, and it's like women are now in their 40s, 50s, and like my children have grown up and now I don't know what to do with my life because all I've been is a mum. And I'm like, what? Like there is so much more to you than being a mum, right? You have hopes and dreams. You have a reason for being alive. And when you activate this within yourself, just like you said, you activate this for your children. And I've seen it so many times where I've seen and said to women, your child has come to you because when you ignite yourself, when you step into the work that you're here to do, you give them permission to then step into their work.
Oh, amen. That is the truth right there.
Yeah, not the other way around. Sometimes they can't get into it until you've sorted your shit out and you've realized that you are this flippin' phenomenal being that is here to make waves in this world with the thing that only you can bring, right? I can't do what you do. You can't do what I do. And we can't do what Mary does. But we are collectively on the same energy, bringing it in our own way because there are so many people that need awakening, and I'm going to get something from you, you'll get something from me, and then you'll get bits from everybody, and you've got your own bit to add. Like I feel like you and we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours and hours on end, right? But I love that you mentioned this because I feel like it's such a missing key for a lot of women, and they'll say like, my child is struggling with this, and I'm like, why is your child struggling with this? It's because it's within you. When you heal it, you heal your child.
Yes. Yes. And when they see us doing our work, it then becomes normalized, like going to therapy, doing my healing work, my sacred space. Like my kids know every morning that is my time where I talk with the divine and I heal. And it normalizes everything, right? Like crystals everywhere, super normal at our house.
Oh yeah, me too.
Mom chanting at the sun, super normal at our house. Like this is the world that they get to then be raised in so that their hearts are open to whatever calls to them.
Yeah. I love that you kind of mentioned this, and I know I've mentioned this in a few other podcast episodes before, but my 12-year-old, Chloe, her aspiration is to be an Olympic swimmer. She is so determined. Like this is literally our life is swimming. My other kids are like tagging along, but she used to be an asthmatic, and we've healed that now. That's no longer her story. So that for me, I know she wouldn't believe that this is possible or that it is already done for her unless I was showing up boldly and showing her what is possible. Yes, mummy gets to sell out shows. Yes, mummy gets to work with women all around the world who message her and say that she's transformed their lives. And she's like, once I've done my Olympic career. She's like, I'm going to do 4 Olympics. She's like, she's mapped it out. She knows that we're starting in Paris when is it? 2024, I think it is. And then we're going to LA and all of that. And she's like, then I'm going to be an inspirational speaker. And I know that this wouldn't be in her vortex, in her paradigm, unless I was already doing this, which has activated that within her to dream and to dream bigger. Because I don't know any other, like she's been wanting to go to the Olympics since she was 4. But I don't know any other child that has her determination and ambition. And I'm like, where the hell did that come from? And it honestly, now I truly believe that it's because I'm showing up in the way that I am.
It's so, there's something about like, you know, when someone tells you, yeah, you can totally do that, but they've never done it. You're like, okay, well, sure. You know, that feels nice. But when somebody's done it and they say, I know what it takes and I know you can do it, there is like this deep trust of like, I can do this. And I watched like my son who's 16 said, I think I'm going to start a studio label. Like I'm going to start my own.
Awesome.
Right? Like I'm going to start my own recording label. And I was like, oh, this is super doable. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I didn't have a degree. I didn't have anything. And I started my own publishing house. So guess what? I can just show you how we take something that's in your soul and create it out of nothing. And then you can have artists come and record at your studio. We're going to build you a spot on our land and we're going to have a freaking studio where you have a label and you record other artists. And it was like, he was like, this is so, because I watched that you can do anything and not have like these boundaries that tell you can't. And now it's like, who knows what this kid will do? But
oh my gosh. And he's only 16, he's beginning his life. And it's like, if he's able to do this now, seriously, this is the kind of kid that changes the world, right? And, you know, some people will say, well, I'm now like 60. What can I do? I'm like, age is nothing. Age is just a number. And these kids that have come in now into this vortex are showing us how truly easy it is. And we've made it so much harder for ourselves because, you know, we place limitation and restrictions, but the universe doesn't contract. Like the universe is expansive. It actually wants us to bring our gifts and, you know, all the things that we have inside of us, because we are here to give physical expansion to the universe. So your son doing his recording company, right, which will publish, do you publish? Well, I'm like,
sure. I don't actually really know.
I'm like, I don't know what the right word is, but let's just use that as an example. Now it's going to give, you know, other people who have beautiful messages and songs and sound the opportunity to share their sacred medicine. And like, seriously, it's just so beautiful. Oh, I'm so like inspired by just this conversation.
Right? Like, mom who is on fire has children on fire.
It is. And it's so amazing to be reminded of that. It's like when I see Chloe and how she is in the pool, like every time I just watch her, I just want to cry. I'm like, oh my God, she's so amazing. And you know, we both visualize together her with the gold medal singing, you know, the national anthem from New Zealand. And I can see it so clearly in my mind and knowing that it is done. And it's just now we get to enjoy the journey of it all unfolding. And she reminds me to dream. Like when I think, oh, something can't happen, I just look to her and I'm like, she wants to go to the Olympics. I can do anything. Like, you know, like that is nothing compared to her dream, you know? So I'm so inspired with the fact that you are such a vessel, such a beautiful vessel. I mean, you're stunning as well. For those that get to watch the video, they'll see that you're just gorgeous. Your beauty and your light really just emanates out of you. It's so magnetic. I love it. And everyone's so blessed to get to work with you. I want to just kind of ask you something that I ask everybody, because I know we could literally talk for hours.
I know.
I would love to know if you could have a conversation with anyone that has walked the earth, whether they are fictional or not, whether they're still alive or in the past. Who would that be and why?
So for me, it would be Christ, Jesus Christ. I feel I work with him the most in my healing work. And so to be able to converse like face to face would be just very powerful for me.
And what would you ask? Like, what would be something that you'd really want to know?
I think that I've never actually thought this, so this is just coming through right now, but I would really be like, what's the shortcut to healing? Like, show me the fastest way. How, like, what is it? Like, what's the thing? Like, what is it that you use so easily to transform? I think I would love to just dive into that.
Yeah, because I mean, I truly believe that he was like a psychic surgeon in a way, and he just emanated love, and that was it. You know, the blind were able to see, and I feel it was that he lit up our shadows. Right? He lit up the shadows within us that created the physical barrier, and once that's been dissolved, dismantled, only light can shine through, right? So it's interesting. So many people that I interview want to speak to Jesus. He's having a definite influence on all of us right now.
That's beautiful. I love hearing that.
So, honey, where can people connect with you, and what kind of things do you offer for people to be in your space? And, I'm going to tag in the handles anyway, but where do you hang out the most? All of that jazz.
Fabulous. So fastest way is I'm on Instagram a lot. So my name is Keira Poulsen on there. Literally, if someone sends me a DM, that's the easiest way for me to connect to people. But also my website, it is a bit outdated. So that's actually on my list today. So by the time this goes live, all of my new things will be out, which is I've just opened the doors to my newest mastermind, which is called Awakening Authors.
I love that.
And it's so much fun because I help women learn how to spiritually receive their books, but then how do we create a spiritual business off of the book so that the book is actually the activator of the message, and then the business gets to create the success. And everyone who joins my mastermind, their publishing fees are covered. So it's a bit like all-inclusive resort. You come in, you get to be a part of this powerful sacred community of women, because the women I work with are like really here to do the restoration of sacred, like bring it in, and then everyone gets to leave with a published book. So it's a bit of like my favorite party ever, and that's my main focus right now. I only take 4 people on at a time in my mentorship, which is my one-on-one, and that is completely full at the time. So the mastermind is the best place, unless people just want to take little tiny courses. I have lots of digital courses. If you just want to learn my healing practice, I have a course just on how to do the Awaken Healing Practice. If you want to just learn just how to write a book, I have a mini course on how to write a book. So I have a lot of mini things that can fulfill the space in someone who's ready to activate their message and create massive ripples of light.
Oh, so amazing. I don't even know if I have words. This doesn't happen very often, Keira, because I'm a blabbermouth. It's communication is my strongest point, but I'm like, I don't have any words. I'm just in the bubble. I'm just in this energy where words don't need to be said. I don't know. I'm gonna have to hand it over to you while I just bask in this. But it's I'm just so happy that someone like yourself is doing this work.
Thank you. I am so grateful. I mean, I'm literally sitting here like, oh my gosh, for an hour, not one child has come to our door. This is like
No, for both of us.
the bubble of miracle right here in this moment. But really,
Between us, we have like a soccer team or something, or I don't know.
and it's just like feeling into the gratitude that we connected, that this message is, it's vibrating, it's here, like women are being liberated, and not in the way that people think, like we're liberating them in their power and gifts to
Exactly.
change the world. It
Yeah.
just gets you so excited.
We've deemed ourselves, small for long enough. It's really time for us to rise. And I feel as women, we rise, we make our men better, because I don't believe men are bad. I love men, like I think men are great. I kind of love having a man in my life. But it's like we get to make them better by showing up in our power, right? So I love it. Babes, such an honor. I feel I'm going to have you on again, because there's so much that we need to talk about. And I imagine next time we'll be talking about my book that I've published with you, The Femme Rebirth. So excited to eventually get that in the world, right? Let's make it happen. But I thank you for your time. I thank you for your absolute light. I thank you for all the love that you have transmuted into this episode. It's full of so many nuggets. Oh, you're like a pot of gold. You really are. You're the pot of gold. It actually exists, right? Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share with the Rise with Love listeners before we have to say see you later?
I just want to thank you. Like, thank you, for being this magnificent light, and for holding the space for this beautiful conversation. It was just pure joy for me. And I think the last thing that I want to share is, if anyone who's listening has a tiny spark inside of them, like the smallest spark that says, I am here to do more, I am here to make a difference, I am here, that they honor it, and that they just start seeking and asking, what is it that wants to be born through you, and it will change your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I are living proof of that. We're not any different to anyone that is listening. We haven't got any magical powers or anything like that. We just made a choice, and we trusted in something that was greater than ourselves, or even that little spark we and it ignited into this roaring, fire that we've become as the phoenix, right? So thank you so much, Keira. I absolutely, from my heart and soul, just love you and everything that you are doing in this world. So thank you for showing up and lighting this world with your sacred medicine. You truly are the embodiment, as I knew you would be, of what it means to rise with love.
Thank you.
So beautiful listeners, make sure that you go and follow Keira. She is sensational, and just being in her vortex, I already feel like I've upgraded like 1,000,000 times. So make sure you go and follow her on her social media platforms, get in her mastermind, or do her courses. Just do something with Keira, because she's amazing. And remember that, of course, the most wonderful things will unfold for you when you embark on the journey to rise with love. So go forth, my loves, go forth and spread your light in this world. Mwah.